Anyways, let's do this thing, guys. It's not the Alima League. This is actually not even from the Alima League replay pack. So let's get rid of that. There you go. In the top left, as the red Zerg, it is a Elazer. In the bottom right, as the blue Zerg, it is Liquid Snute. Sub 2, Liquid Snute. Been streaming a little bit. He, you know, officially retired a while ago at this point, but then continued to stream, as you know, anyone could probably figure. I mean, why not, really? Especially while your skill is still pretty up there before you get back into school or whatever he chooses to do. But not just streaming. He's actually been doing pretty well in qualifiers. Home Story Cup, he had a couple of good matches. Still, you know, considering that he is retired and practicing a lot less, he certainly is punching above his weight against people who are still full-time. But Snute, that doesn't necessarily surprise me, because Snute was always a studious player, right? Like, it was definitely not pure talent. And in the best way possible, I would even say that he was one of the least talented. Like, the amount of work that he would explain that he had to put into every step that he took to get better was insane. And he was also very smart about it, you know, talking to TLO, getting their heads together, actually trying to do some dedicated practice as opposed to just like grinding out games, but also grinding out games when you compare to people like Tasia, right? Like, Tasia would just kind of be like, yeah, I want the money and I'm pretty good. And it would kind of be flippant. No, not Snute. So, you know, with him carrying these qualities through into even a part-time play, it makes sense that he would still be pretty damn good. And here we have him up against a Elazer, and apparently this is a really sick replay. I have not watched it. This is from the ASUS Raw qualifiers, which happened like last week or something like that. And I'm not sure how Borsey got these replays. Maybe they were streaming and they put it in their sub replay pack. I'm not sure. But I'm certainly excited to see what Snute had to throw out here. I'm not sure the result of that qualifier either, which I would look up, but then that would spoil these results possibly. So I want to be surprised. I want to see who wins. Hey, Dr. Sidewinder. Hey, Rainman. So far, just stock standard ZvZ stuff, no early pools. Which gave me a lot of time to over-explain things, as usual. Elazer, hopefully many of you still recognize. A little bit topsy-turvy, used to be definitely #1 Polish player. Probably still is. I say used to, and I don't really mean that, but he's been kind of up and down a little bit. A little shaky occasionally, but I definitely still think he's the best Polish player, unless I'm forgetting someone. Trying to think of who would be in their Nation Wars, right? But, I mean, years ago, we basically took over Inertio's spot, certainly as the best Zerg, and that is usually what they were full of. Soul's kind of getting up there, and that's awesome, but... And just in general, Poland's always had a lot of great players, but... Yeah, Elazer's had a couple of tough tournaments, but damn, still pretty damn good. And usually very good with that ZvZ. A lot of the practice partners you would imagine in Europe are Zerg players for him. So usually it translates into a decent ZvZ, but he is, you know, one thing you can say about his style, besides it being just generally good, is that it is pretty aggressive, usually. You see Elazer actually throw out a couple of all-ins more than his Zerg brethren. Very tiny little scuffles going on, not a big deal. No one's really committing actually to the attack either. Not a lot of lings following this up, but they both have gone for some faster evolution chambers. Now clearly Snute is going for a very fast evolution chamber, +1 already done, already on the way. Elazer a little more time, yeah, as if he was just grabbing that while holding off on actually fully transitioning into roaches, and with that +1 missile, that is going to be eventually a roach warren thrown down at some point. They both are keeping tabs on each other with the overlords. They know they don't have to make a lot of lings. Could it be, you know, a problem if the lings are all holed up in the natural? Yes, that, you know, sometimes does happen, but we even have some lings getting through into the naturals and maybe even the mains to see exactly what's going on. Case in point, Snute gets right into that main. No banelings to stop it. Lings don't get this around and get the full scout, including that lair timing. I believe he's also able to see a little bit of the roach or the gases, but I was going to say that is probably for those roaches. He did not, and he did not see the roach warren. He also did not see the evolution chamber. So this looks, I mean, this is incomplete information, but considering the timings of all these things, you know, especially the lair, I would say that Snute just figures that, yes, there was an evolution chamber somewhere. There's a roach warren somewhere. Because to go up to a spire, for instance, you know, that's why you would skip these structures. At this time, it's usually not done. Either you're getting that roach horn anyways and then going into a spire, which is a fairly popular thing to do, or like you're diving towards on some type of 2-base build, which again usually involves faking a roach horn. But you know, with all the gases taken, I actually kind of expect Elazer to go into that spire as well. But Snute, actually, with that +1, he did that in a roach warren, but, you know, possibly only to keep up appearances. We still have +2 melee on the way. Him going for the spire makes a lot of sense. It's something that Elazer is not quite going to be able to figure out. That +1 only recently finishing means that he was not able to click on this ling and see that the +1's done, have a hint as to the trajectory of build order. And that could be a huge problem. You saw the roach warren, you can just kind of figure that that's a +1 missile, but that would be wrong. It's on its way to +2 melee. Now the ling should be seen now, but is Elazer clicking on them? He's a couple roaches as well, but it really was just a couple. Snute going into spire, +2 centrifugal hooks, and a Hydralisk Den. It looks like Elazer got sight on the spire at some point with this overseer. Yes, he did. So he slaps down his own Hydralisk Den. They both have gotten up to a very satisfactory macro game. 3 bases going on 4 for Elazer on 66 drones apiece. Actually quite mimicking each other despite the vastly different openers. And Elazer will want to get up that 4th base ASAP so he can get the creep on it, so he can get some spore crawlers on it. With the timing of the spire, again, it wasn't one of the dive to spires or right after, you know, roaches could pop out. It was still, you know, faster than we might see from other games, but, you know, anyways. It's probably not that scary. It's not like the 9 mutas quickly become 15 and then 20 while you're still working on your 3rd. No, this is a decent amount, but we even see a potential twist to the story. A lurker den is already on the way, and that might be what truly Snute is looking forward to more than the mutas. So Elazer might even over-defend against the mutas if that's really the game plan here, but that is what I'm curious about. What exactly is the way that Snute is going to play this game? He is adding more mutas, he is getting that +1. To just simply abandon that technology when you're not transferring over into roaches, which he clearly isn't, no roach speed, would be a new way to play for sure. But still, adding in this lurker den, right? They're both on 4 bases, so I guess you can afford kind of a lot of different things here. That's 8 gas geysers to work off for Snute, who immediately went in to all 8 gas geysers. But Elazer, no pressure to his 4th base, hasn't quite droned it up yet, but he's actually just oversaturated his 3rd, so a little bit of a mistake. Mutas finally get over to the other side of the map, but spore crawlers are down, queens have been made / just pulled to the front, and hydras are already here as well. As I said, it's potential that Elazer kind of over-defended, but when it comes to mutas, it probably is always better to over-defend, not let that silly, stupid snowball happen. And for him, the lurkers are just going to be an excellent addition to the Roach Hydra army, and they're going to help a lot more reliably than, say, a fungal against some of those baneling attacks that can happen with mutas. They just kind of build up a baneling ball and roll into you and hope to catch the hydras. Or just a general army, actually. You know, you're clumped up, banelings are always effective. Hydras respond to the main. No creep spreads. A bit of a mistake here from Elazer, especially because he has so many queens with a lot of chance to use energy. Also could be creep tumors on the ground. Both of them going into lurkers. As I said, Elazer for him, it just is probably about trying to deal with ling run-bys, baneling swamps, and then eventually just getting that perfect Roach Hydra lurker army with whatever Hive would give him, and he is on his way to Hive. But for Snutes, is this going to be used more aggressively? That's funny. And I would say that has to be, right? Like, usually you are the person that takes control of the game when you go mutas. Especially if you go mass mutas, which you really didn't. He had it on 4 or more, he got that +1, but that was kind of it. And then all the gas went into this kind of transition, just not into the mass roach you might be used to. It's a transition into lurkers. +2 is down on those links, so if they get into the main and natural, they were ripped through the drones, but these lurkers very aggressively placed. They knew that there was lurkers of Elazer already attacking into them, but he still boldly went up that ramp. Banelings out boldly going up the ramp as well, but not enough lurkers to actually tear them down. Means they get some connection. Oh my god, speaking of lurkers. Oh, the carnage on that ramp was terrifying. Instantly, like, 20 supply goes down, and what was probably just a little bit of AI. I'm not even sure Elazer was meaning to go down that ramp. He was too busy trying to deflect the lings in the main and natural. which looked like they were done successfully enough. 9 drones going down is not too bad for what +2 lings can get away with. Lurkers reposition here for Snute. They've already, I think, gotten their worth, but they're still looking for more. More lurkers are being added on. He does add on that +1 missile. They do affect those lurkers, and we even see him starting to think about that hive as well. Of course, with the Spire available to the, the Muta player, you could possibly think about Broodlords, but because Vipers can abduct Broodlords, it is a very risky and basically just totally not done move in ZvZ. If you do see late game, it's just use of the Vipers for Blinding Cloud, especially against the pesky little lurkers, as well as that lurker burrow speed, which I think we'll see if this game goes that long. And so far, it does seem that despite that one little mistake on the ramp, Elazer is holding against the aggression, is also able to deal with a ling potential run by down south by placing lurkers down there, finally has that under control and can add on the gases, which was probably the biggest problem of all this aggression, is that he couldn't grab that and he would be a little scarce in the main and natural at this point. But with that under his wing, it's feeling a little bit more safe once again, get maxed out, build a little bit of a bank, which he did have to expend in all these defenses. And we're going into the late game ZvZ, it looks like. Hive's on the way now for Snute. Hydralisk also getting their upgrades, which, did Elazer already get his? Okay, yeah, that happened a while ago. My bad. Even getting a roach speed upgrade. And we've seen basically like a handful of fake roaches in the early game and then a handful of what looked to be like accidental roaches, honestly. So that's a little surprising to see that. Especially because gas is still not exactly a luxury, despite now being on 10 gases for Snute. That's a lot of gas income. But this is kind of his right as the aggressive player, as the one with Mutas, is to get that faster expansion. Elazer's supposed to be taking better resource loss trades, which he is. So that's good, because he did lose that third, or fourth rather, pretty early on. But you know why there's resource loss trade in favor of Elazer? Because banelings have not really been a highlight unit this game, have they? Not so much. They haven't really rolled on top of Hydras. They haven't connected with the drones. They haven't done something weird like actually get on top of the lurkers, which even if they do, lurkers take quite a few banelings to kill. And they haven't really been worth their suicidal weight, but yeah. That is what Elazer's supposed to be doing, and he's doing it well. Especially past this little mistake here. Spine, spores, and lurkers defending that little choke right there. Elazer is tired of units getting through here. He also is well aware that Mutas could be transitioned into fully. You could go into 25 Mutas if you're actually banking behind this, and then suddenly just absolutely wreck havoc on the main and naturals as your Hydras desperately try to defend. And if you don't have fungals, then they can kind of, beep bop out of there. But that would be a very risky move, because what if the Hydras are there? What if there is a fungal somewhere? Well, then 25 Mutas die and you're out of an army. So it's kind of funny to see this many spore crawlers, but it does make sense, especially because he probably had a bit of a surplus of minerals. Now we're at the point where they're both maxed. They both should be getting those Vipers, but Elazers are already ready to go. He's got Overseers in their extended vision mode, whatever they call it for Overseers. And he is starting to yank those lurkers out of the grounds. Both of them have upgraded to the upgrade for their burrow lurkers, but you simply just cannot run away fast enough when the Vipers pull you into the entire army. Elazer now in the aggression is also adding a bit more mobility to his potential attacks. Nidus Worm's on the way, so that's not just being able to reinforce quicker, that's also being able to attack multiple places at once, and with lurkers, that gets really, really dangerous. He goes in with a concave, a couple blinding clouds are set down by Snute to halt that potential snipe on the 5th base, and with so many lurkers still available, defending this hatchery, that is just not something that Elazer's gonna be able to break into. His Vipers have to go back home, they gotta regain that energy, and he also just needs more. Eventually, we will see some very silly, stupid Viper abducts on other Vipers. Gets a little weird. It does. As you can see, their map vision's also quite limited since the Hydralisk popped out, since the Mutas popped out. Both of them have those options for anti-air, so not a lot of Overlord coverage. It's going to make it really annoying to deal with Nidus Worms. The Mutas, if they are still alive, and they are not, kind of a waste of supply otherwise, right? Unless they actually do find these Nidus Worms. Maybe they could have helped against that, but, yeah. For how much supply you could be into Vipers or Lurkers, probably not worth Mutas just defending against this. And Snute does not have his own Nidus Worm potential, which maybe he'll start thinking about it now that he realizes Elazer just tried that on him. But a big attack on this side, and actually they're both going for it, but both blinding cloud each other Hydra's army, which is very, very awkward. AI almost always pushes your army forward, which is exactly what your opponent does, but what if you both push each other forward? Then that's just weird. There is a blinding cloud that's usually a bit more effective. Really what you want is getting on top of the lurkers and just simply taking out their attack. It's just gone. You know, the Hydras eventually, they move out of the blinding cloud, they move back, forth, whatever. They're still doing some damage. And you do have melee attacks in the blinding cloud as well. But the lurkers, to actually get it on the lurker, and your opponent doesn't get it on yours, especially with that speed upgrade for their burrow, that's usually when you see the better trades happen. But Snute has successfully defended against Elazer's brief attack phase. Both of them now taking a little bit of a chill pill. Snute has had the better expansion process his entire game, which is good, because again, he's losing in the resources lost. Still is, by the way, so we're kind of past that point where it's like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. You know, banelings rolling in, Mutas having to be replaced. And we do want to see, he wants to see more even trades, but he is still getting the better expansions. You know, he's already on his 7th here, so that, okay, I guess that makes up. Can I count? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He's on his 6th. I can't count. Elazer's on his 5th, which apparently almost died to... I'm gonna actually... Okay, I just totally missed that. With like lings running in, lurkers perhaps, just not paid attention to. Elazer's now guarding that like it's a $1 billion necklace. Jeez, that's a lot of spine crawlers, but that will defend it. Upgrades have also been a bit of an issue this entire game for Snute, who was, you know, behind on the Hydra Lurker upgrade part of it. And he still is with +3 done for Elazer, and also +1 yeah, he's only on +1 carapace. So yeah, Snute's been behind on that for a while, but he's finally catching up. As Elazer actually transfers over into his own melee upgrade. Interesting, we'll see if that's for maybe just future Ling run buys. Considering the advantage of again, the mobility that Lings could provide, especially if you get Adrenal Glands on them, they will tear down hatcheries instantly. And for how fast you can use and abuse Lings, they sometimes are worth the like 20 supply you put into it. Now, this is getting a little bit awkward. Some units getting AI'd around Acropolis's plateau. It is kind of a weird map sometimes. Oh my god, all of those abducts on the Vipers. So good right there. He does miss one of the lurkers, but he has an overseer and it's taken out. Spineclaws will only hold so long against the lurkers of Snute, but here comes Elazer's reinforcements. Nidus Worm looks like it was going to be used offensively, but now it's being used to bring back the army. Blinding Clouds are going down actually on Snute's army. He's not really using his Vipers a whole ton despite having energy of his own. There's one of his Blinding Clouds. That was a little weird, and the Vipers should actually be skedaddling at this point because that is an overwhelming amount of Hydras. A laser coming in from multiple angles for like a 270 concave was quite good for him. Snute, though, was able to save his Vipers, which does trade out a bit better. He grabbed like at least 2, if not 3, right, Vipers on the very initial part of that attack. It looks like Elazer's already replaced him. Now he's going to soak up that juice. He's got to defend against the lurkers attacking into his base, but I don't think he actually can. If he defends against this, he's going to have to pull his entire army out of position, but he doesn't know that. He doesn't know where Elazer's army is. They have no vision in the middle of that map, so this is a complete surprise to him. He also never caught the Nidus Worms that Elazer placed a little bit off to the side so that they weren't easy to catch, which means it's easy transportation in and out of this battle. A Blinding Cloud's fairly effective. A Spore Crawler, surprisingly effective, just half the Overseer count right there, and they could even go down on purpose if Snute noticed. And it looks like that's not his goal. He wants to grab his opponent's Lurkers, he wants to grab his opponent's Vipers, the really expensive key units right there. And he does grab a couple while keeping his Vipers alive, but Elazer is, you know, he's been trading up better in resources lost. He still is. I mean, at one point it was like a 4,000 difference, but it stayed steady at kind of a 9,000 difference. That's pretty big. Elazer's being able to replace those Vipers that he has been getting abducted without too much trouble. His army supply on the ground usually is kept alive. It's really just replacing those Vipers, which is still usually a key point in the trades of ZvZ. It's just that he's able to afford it. Elazer has a huge bank. Snute, unable to defend this top right base, is going to focus on expanding to the bottom left a bit more here. There's no half bases on here. There's no gold bases. Every base is just normal. But of course, some of them are easier to defend than others. Also, some a little more secret. You know, it's funny enough, this is one of those bases that sometimes you just don't ever bother looking for. The Nidus Swarm to the top side has been cleaned up, and the Nidus Swarm to the bottom side has been cleaned up. We do finally have some sight for Snutes. Changelings, kind of the only way to go, but when you're both massing lurkers and hydras, it's kind of easy to notice a ling in there. Both of them very keen on replacing those overseers, by the way. When you see this kind of overseers, don't underestimate how much cast that takes. 50-50, right? That's, you know, whatever on the minerals for the most part, but for the gas, that's... how much gas for 13 overseers? Snute has 9, he just made a couple more. These guys are very serious about not getting stuck in a position where they don't have an overseer, either aggressively, you know, they're on the win and then they run them all over spore crawlers, which is what's been happening, or defensively, and suddenly their opponent just bullies them farther and farther back. Oh my god, the Changeling Parade. But more importantly, this huge attack, attacking into Elazer's concave. Blinding Clouds go down on Elazer's army, however, where I guess Elazer is focusing a little bit more on those abducts. His lurkers reposition, and with that speed upgrade, they are so fast at doing that, but the concave's still decent for Snute, who really is pushing the issue. Unfortunately, his Vipers are entirely out of energy, or they're straight up dead. He definitely lost a lot of Vipers in that fight, but it looks like it was a bit of a wash. Snute comes out a slight bit ahead on that supply, but Elazer still has the bank. Both of them have also been set down to sub 60 workers at some point. I'm not even sure when that happened, but it looks like Snute also just noticing or figuring just now that he can finally afford to replace them. Also going for a couple of lings here. We're going to see those run by into especially these extra bases, right? That's going to be very effective at killing those. I don't think either one of them went to Adrenal Glands. It's a pretty expensive upgrade. Maybe Elazer could have at one point, but his gas bank has definitely been depleted here, and he's just stuck at that +1 melee. All right, lings catch this, as well as a couple of drones, which is always nice. Elazer has not replaced those drones, but if he can still max out, that does mean his army supply is higher. Couple extra lurkers, couple extra vipers could be a huge difference. It's the give and take of the Zerg process, my higher army supply, but I'm a bit more all in when I do it, right? Not sure he is taken out. Not sure if that was a cancel or a kill. Looks like someone who's using Game Hearts. I guess this was cast. Or they were using it to take away each other's skins, either way. Oh my god, 42 lurkers have died for Snute. Oh my god. But 14 vipers for Elazer, so it's like my commentary was somewhat on point. I was looking for the hatchery. That's what I was looking for. 2 hatcheries, 2 hatcheries. Could not tell you how many hatcheries they lost. Maybe it was killed, maybe it wasn't. This base is going unscouted, by the way. That's what I was talking about. Oh my god, the Changeling party here. It's amazing. Lings now catching this bottom left base. Just a handful of Lings being quite a pain for Elazer. Now, 1 lurker apiece could maybe take care of that, but, you know, keep in mind that if the... okay, well, the base is finally found, never mind. If the Lings hit us around, a lurker is actually very inefficient at dealing with that. They would be killing like 1, maybe 2 lings every attack. So, lurker defense, not just a simple process. Snute is down to the 6 bases he's had for a while. Actually, I guess this one died, so this is still pretty fresh. Drones on the rally. Gonna be taken out here, bringing Snute back down to sub 60. Both of them looking, maybe a little even. You have, like, differences ever so slightly between their circumstances. Higher gas bank for Snute, higher mineral bank for Elazer. Snute has a few more drones. Elazer is a bit more army supply. Elazer also does have that upgrade on the Carapace over Snute, which I don't believe affects any kill shot potential, but that is including that splash from the lurkers, so, you know, it's definitely nice to have that extra Carapace. Ooh, wow, this is an interesting fight. Banelings have been included in this army, and they're gonna go after those lurkers with the blinding cloud on them. The lurkers really couldn't stop them. A parasitic bomb actually going down on a Viper. You don't see that too often. And well, Elazer maybe thought he could take an initial great fight there because he saw Snute running up a choke just like I did. Was actually concaved upon rather effectively. Snute keeping a lot of his Hydras alive. The Banelings actually being a little more useful than I think at any point otherwise in this game. Even some of them surviving somehow. This base is a goner. This base is Snute's, okay? He might just get away with that, but Elazer is trying to get this one back. Maybe there was a ling or something down here to take the 20 Hydras or whatever this is. This one sees the hatchery. So you're just gonna go ahead and cancel that one. That makes sense. Overseer is about to suicide over these Hydras. If not careful. Sneaks on top of it. That concave is quite scary, but Snute must be figuring that can't be the entirety of Elazer's army. He's about to see it right now. It's not so many important units flying by here. Vipers, lurkers, and all of those overseers. And Snute is going to have to retreat back here. Oh my god, the changeling army. Jeez. God forbid these overseers ever get full energy and they all poop out changelings. That would be literally an army. You could block multiple pathways with like 30 changelings. Jeez Louise. Okay, Elazer almost stubbornly getting this base back up. They both are just weaving around each other. Acropolis has a lot of those bases right on those edges. The middle is supposed to be where you fight, but they are actually avoiding the middle for the most part here. As Elazer does catch Snute a little bit better off guard. As this is simply a cancel, but this is actually where Snute's looking forward to. But so many Vipers, sorry, Spine Crawlers and Spores means the Vipers have to use their Blind Cloud on that as opposed to the oncoming reinforcements. But that actually isn't too many reinforcements. I think the threat of a base race made Snute reconsider his choices. He was sending some army back here. It looks like that was a pretty okay choice. Nah, he really would have wanted to get the hatchery as well. But I guess getting all those Spine Crawlers is still something. But you know what? Snute lost 21 drones in this little trade. A hatchery and all those drones. Snute not exactly swimming in minerals, unlike Elazer, who despite having to replace his bases, I guess has not really lost too many extra drones here. At some point he lost like 10, but I think basically in the last attack actually. But it looks like he still has been trading favorably. Still at that 9,000 resources lost difference, actually. Very even. Throughout the game, that is. Very consistent, I should say, not even. Well, that does reflect in that income, that overall bank. I mean, Snute's trying to get another base back up, which has been keeping him afloat for this game, but it's about to go down here. This fight better go well, and that's a huge amount of army supply for Snute to run in here. He has been almost maxed out, at least, at that point of the army attack, so he did have a better army supply, but Elazer also getting maxed right now with 12 more Hydras on the way. Also showing up his defenses at his extra hatcheries, so it's once again going to take a lot for Snute to break, but the fight actually in the middle, wait. Whoa, did Elazer get, like, misclicked? Why did he take that fight? He may have been chasing after some Vipers, actually. As I was watching the hatchery get another threat. The lurkers go down. Blinding Cloud's less effective for Elazer. And then what happens? Elazer breaks through the Blinding Clouds. And then... I mean, he's definitely controlling the army, so... well, I guess temporarily he was controlling the army, so I think that was just him grabbing his army and preparing to send it to the top side, but instead it just loses him all of those Hydras, a couple of those Vipers who had survived the initial attack, and his top right attack doesn't even actually kill the base, although it does kill 13 drones. That is catastrophic, actually. Elazer could have possibly have just thrown the game with that. 19 Hydras are on the way, but his gas bank is limited to replace the lurkers, to replace the Vipers. Plus, it just straight up takes time. You first have to build the unit, and you have to evolve the unit, or suck energy for the unit. Either one. Elazer now down 60 overall supply on 5 lurkers, and whatever Hydras he can muster, both of them at about 35 drones. And Snute, I think, with that attack in the middle and the combination of killing this hatchery, is probably just taking the game. Elazer is going to be able to console himself, I suppose, with this still fresh hatchery to the bottom left that is well defended, but he has to hold on for a very long time. Snute can finally take a breather knowing that he just took an excellent trade there, because I figure he was watching the fight even if Elazer was not. And he did save this base, so he remade a couple of drones. He's back up to at least, you know, a mining and a half. That wasn't a cancel right there, and Elazer does need to seriously consider saving up on those minerals. That was exactly what Snute needed. Otherwise, that bank was looking scarier and scarier. But these guys have been running around each other's armies. It was, I guess, eventually that was bound to happen, right? The AI was going to mess up in the plateau here with the chokes, or they just simple misclick. Either one, and it finally happened. Unfortunately for Elazer, it was his misclick. This base has been low since the beginning of the game almost. It's almost a 30-minute game, so I'll consider it the beginning. Vipers are being sniped from the sky for Elazer, but only after they sent out their blinding clouds, so still very effective for Snute here, who's just going to tackle the entire army of Elazer and force him to tap out. GG. That was a pretty sick game. Thank you, Borsey. That was a very interesting game.